Hi everyone, this is Selvi. Today we are going to discuss about an interview question. How many spikes can be planned in a sprint? Actually speaking, there is no definite number for this question. We can plan any number of spike in a particular sprint. But let's try to understand what are the challenges and how we can balance this out. Sprint backlog generally is a combination of different work items. We will be definitely implementing certain things to achieve certain requirement. It's a business requirement. There can be certain bugs that we are trying to fix. There are some kind of enabler or spike items that we are trying to implement and explore the options and come up with some spike outcome. Before getting into how many spikes, let's try to understand quickly what is a spike and why we do that. When we are not so clear about the implementation piece, or we have multiple options and we are not so sure what is the best option that we can look for, we generally go with a spike. There is a requirement. The requirement is partially clear, but we need to explore that option or the requirement more so that we can get a definite picture. Then we look for a spike. In certain situations, we know the business problem. We know multiple options also to implement, but we need to find the best solution that suits that particular problem out of all those multiple options. That particular situation, we go for a spike. So there are different situations like this. We try to create a spike and we come up with a spike outcome and plan for the next set of things. But here the question is, in a sprint, how many spike we can plan? In general, during the initial days of the project is in very beginning stage, things are not so clear. We may look for more clarity, or we know the problem, but we have lot of options because the project is new. We want to really explore something here. At that point of time, the number of spike that we add in our sprint is going to be slightly more. But can we have a sprint with full of spike items? Not advisable. The reason is, spike is not a deliverable. Spike is just an enabler. So when I say enabler, we have a problem and we have multiple options. We are coming up with the right option by exploring all the options. We don't have clarity. We are exploring and try to add more clarity. So all these things are enabling us to take the next step. So spike is actually an enabler, or spike is something which is helping us to bring out the right option. It is not a deliverable. Can we have a sprint that is not having any kind of business value but only enables for the upcoming sprints? Is that a right thing to call out? Not really. So it's always best to have spike, because definitely we may have some kind of questions. We may look for clarity. We may want to explore certain things. So spikes are very important. But in a sprint, you cannot have all the work items that are spike. That is not an advisable option, because if we do that, then that particular sprint actually doesn't deliver any business value. It is just enabling us to look for the future sprints. So how to balance this out? It is very important how we plan our sprint backlog. It is a very important call that Scrum Master and Product Manager should take even when team is missing out. Generally, product owners may look for more of the business value related items, Then also it is very important that we should talk about, are we really ready for the upcoming sprints? Do we need to add any spike now so that we are actually enabling some options and getting more clarity for the questions we have? Do we need to do that now? That is a question we definitely need to ask when we are talking about our sprint goal. Same time, when we are actually planning more spike, we also need to ask the question, hey, why we are all why we are adding all those spike now? Is it really required? Can we hold a certain spike and look for some kind of stories, user stories, which are going to deliver some business value? Why can't we cluster those spike items now from this sprint and plan for the upcoming sprint? What is the priority? What is the challenge if we do that kind of thing? So that way we are balancing out the sprint backlog with deliverables and also enabling us to work for the future sprint with the right set of spike. So it is not advisable to add so many number of spike or all spikes in a single sprint. That is not an advisable option. Always it should be a right balance. So it is very important when we are setting the sprint goal as a team, we should ask these questions. And also I'm going to call out a very important challenge. Let's consider a scenario where we are going to have all spike in a single sprint. Why are we doing that? Because we have different challenges, like we want to explore some options, we want to come up with the right option from those multiple options, we want to look for more clarity, we want to clarify a lot of things. So it is very important that we need to explore some options in that particular requirement. All these things are the questions we want to really get an answer. So we are actually planning a lot of spike. For all these spikes, even though we complete all these spikes in a single sprint 1, we are planning all these spikes. Let's consider like that. Are we going to work on all those implementation topics in sprint 2? Is it feasible, first of all? No, right? Because we cannot work on all user stories in the next sprint. We may not have that level of bandwidth. So it is very important, plan some user stories in this sprint, additionally add some spike, so that next sprint you have some more topics to implement based on this spike outcome. And additionally add some more user stories which really team is having complete clarity and the DOR is already high or DOR is already met. And also add some more spike item. If anything as a challenge that we foresee for the upcoming sprint, please add them as spike items. So it is very important how we are balancing out. So in a nutshell, I'm going to conclude how the answer for this question is going to look like is, definitely we cannot plan a sprint with all spike. And also there is not a definite number that we can go ahead with for the number of spike items can be planned in a sprint backlog for a sprint. It completely depends on the situation. But it is very much advisable not to plan all spikes in a sprint, because we are going to miss the deliverable piece, which means we are not going to deliver any business value from the sprint. It is all going to be enablers. I think this way we are clear about this question. I hope this episode helped many of you to understand this concept. Thank you so much, everyone. Happy learning and stay tuned.